it's a moderate surprise. So it's not a complete surprise because Newsmax has participated before the FCC and has been one of the few voices that said, don't do this, don't deregulate this space. And what you really see here is President Trump latching on to an article written on Newsmax's platform opposing the easing of this national ownership cap. What's in play here is that there's current FCC regulation says no company can reach more than 39% of U.S. households, and companies like Nexstar and Sinclair want to go way beyond 39%. In fact, Nexstar has a pending deal before the FCC. They just filed their application on Thursday or Friday last week to acquire Tegna that would take them to 70-80% of the country. And it depends on the FCC deregulating in this space. So Trump latching on to Newsmax's opposition because he's concerned about the TV networks growing larger is a concern. It's a real risk. I'm not convinced yet that it's going to lead to real FCC policy. I think this FCC wants to deregulate in this space, and I think there's going to be a pushback against Trump's view on this.
Okay, so the FCC is headed by Brendan Carr, who's been very active in making sure that he's out there doing the president's bidding. Are you saying that Brendan Carr is going to defy President Trump?
Yeah, so that's the big question here. The FCC used to operate as an independent agency, meaning even if the president had a view on something, the FCC could chart its own course. That's not going to work anymore. The way this FCC is operating, if the president takes a firm view on something, the FCC is not going to defy it, because effectively the president can fire the FCC chairman then, and there's no future job prospect if you defy the president. What I'm not convinced about is this was one social media post from President Trump, and talking about concerns about letting the broadcast networks, ABC, CBS, Fox, get bigger. What I think there could be now in back channels is some education from the FCC to the White House that says, hey, easing the national ownership cap, it would let Sinclair and Nexstar get bigger probably, but it doesn't necessarily mean the broadcast networks will get bigger. There's still an independent check on that, even if we ease this cap. So ultimately, if Trump is against this, the FCC is not going ahead with it, in my view. But I think there's still room for Trump's position to evolve on this.
So, the reality is, this is an industry, the broadcast television industry, that is arguably on life support vis-a-vis, forget about cable television, which itself is on life support. They survived that onslaught. Now it's just all about digital and social media. And I would think the industry would have an effective argument, not just to the DOJ, but to the president as well.
Absolutely. That's the case that the National Association of Broadcasters has made to the FCC, that these ownership restrictions, which come from the 1970s or even earlier than that, really make no sense in the world we live in today, where so much video that is consumed doesn't come from broadcast. It comes over the internet. And there are no artificial caps on how much those companies can reach. And broadcasters are left to try to fight with one hand tied behind their back with these ancient FCC rules on the books. And the Republicans at the FCC, Brendan Carr included, strongly agree with that message. And so it's going to be, I think, a little bit of a communication effort that needs to happen between the FCC and the White House and the real question will be, how does that play out? Does Trump's social media post actually translate to real policy? I'm not convinced that it will yet.